AMD just dropped its Q2 2025 earnings, and the stock is catching some heat in the aftermarket. But before you hit the panic button, take a breath. What we're seeing looks more like a knee-jerk reaction than a major shift in the long-term narrative. In this video, we're breaking down what AMD reported, how the stock moved today, and why this pullback might actually be an opportunity in disguise. Let's rewind to earlier today. AMD stock opened at around $177.27 and traded as high as $180.37 before pulling back into the mid-$170s by the close. It ended the session at $174.31, down just under 1.5% on the day. So despite all the hype heading into earnings, AMD didn't explode higher during market hours. But let's be honest, that's not unusual. The stock had already run over 45% year-to-date and had rallied more than 5% on Monday alone. Heading into the report, the market was clearly in wait-and-see mode. There was strong volume all day, especially from institutional players and options traders positioning around earnings. The big takeaway? Expectations were sky-high. Investors were looking for a clean beat, bullish guidance, and ideally, some clarity on the rumored AWS partnership and China export situation. And now we have the numbers. AMD reported revenue of $7.67 billion, beating expectations of around $7.42 billion. That's a 32% increase year-over-year, and a solid top-line beat in anyone's book. Adjusted earnings per share came in at 48 cents, right in line with consensus. But that number includes the $800 million charge related to U.S. export restrictions on high-end AI chips going to China. Without that charge, AMD's gross margin would have been 54%. Instead, it came in at 43%, and that's what's weighing on sentiment right now. So while revenue was better than expected, and EPS matched expectations even after the export hit, the market is reacting to margin compression and slower-than-hoped data center growth. Client segment revenue, think PCs and laptops, was up 67% year-over-year to $2.5 billion. That's a huge rebound and matched estimates. Gaming revenue surged 73% to $1.1 billion, well ahead of expectations. But data center revenue, arguably the most important segment given the AI narrative, grew just 14% to $3.2 billion. That's a good number on paper, but it's not enough to wow the market, especially when you compare it to Nvidia's recent data center growth, which has been closer to 70%. So while AMD's total revenue was strong, and the consumer side of the business is rebounding fast, the street clearly wanted more acceleration on the AI front. That brings us to the aftermarket reaction. As of the latest check, AMD stock is down around 3 to 4% in extended trading. That might seem like a big deal, but let's put it in perspective. First, this is not a collapse. The stock is still well above where it was trading just a few weeks ago. Second, this reaction looks more like profit-taking than a genuine rejection of AMD's performance. Here's why: revenue beat. EPS hit expectations despite a huge export charge. Q3 guidance came in strong, between $8.4 billion and $9.0 billion, ahead of consensus. And the MI350 ramp is proceeding as planned. None of those things suggest a bearish turn. In fact, they confirm that AMD is still growing, still competitive, and still in the AI game. This looks like a classic buy the rumor, sell the news setup. The stock ran hard in the lead-up to earnings, and now it's giving back a little. That doesn't mean the long-term thesis is broken. Remember, AMD is positioning itself as the value alternative to Nvidia in the AI chip space. Their MI300 series is already shipping. The MI350 is in the pipeline. The MI400 and Helios platforms have been teased for 2026. Add to that a strong rebound in gaming and PC demand, and you've got a diversified business that's hitting on more than one cylinder. Sure, data center growth was slower than hoped, but that could be timing related. If we start seeing increased adoption of AMD's GPUs from hyperscalers like AWS, Microsoft, or Oracle in the back half of the year, the narrative changes quickly. And speaking of AWS, there was no official confirmation of a deal tonight, but management emphasized growing interest and active engagement with cloud providers. That's not nothing. That tells us the conversations are happening, and those deals often take time to finalize. The key will be watching how the market digests this over the next 48 hours. If AMD stabilizes above $170 and starts building support, this dip could turn into a springboard. Watch for analyst reactions. If firms like UBS, BofA, or Piper Sandler reiterate their $200 plus price targets, or even revise upward based on Q3 guidance, that could reverse sentiment fast. Also, keep an eye on options activity. If we see a big unwind of bearish bets and continued institutional buying, that's a clue that smart money is seeing this dip as a chance to build a position. And finally, pay attention to forward commentary. If management starts teasing more MI350 wins, or we get news on a licensing solution for China exports, sentiment could shift quickly. To wrap it up, today was a big day for AMD, but not a disastrous one. Yes, the initial reaction in the aftermarket was negative, but that reaction looks overcooked when you consider the full earnings picture. AMD beat revenue expectations, held the line on EPS despite a massive regulatory hit, and issued bullish guidance for the next quarter. This isn't a story of failure. It's a story of a company executing well in a complex environment, and being temporarily punished for not outperforming extremely high expectations. The bullish case for AMD is still intact. AI chips are just getting started. The PC and gaming segments are rebounding faster than expected. And long-term, AMD is still one of the few players that can go toe-to-toe with Nvidia. So don't let one red after-hours candle shake your confidence, especially if you believe in AMD's vision, its leadership, and its role in the future of high-performance computing. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments how you're reacting to AMD's report. Are you buying the dip, holding strong, or waiting to see how the market responds tomorrow? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the follow-up video as more news and analyst commentary comes out. See you next time.